oh wait, that's right. I guess we recorded the two for this week, and therefore there isn't. I called.
Oh, did you call in last week?
I started calling in last week.
And you still have it?
I still have it. I saved it.
Yeah. Send it
I would be giving
along.
you two files. Yeah. So yeah, a little bit of fun for the people at the end. Just
Yeah.
me. I caught on quicker than I did the last time
I bet.
that
Yeah.
I called early. Oh, by the way, you'll be happy to know that my therapist that I call for my OCD stuff
Yeah.
also ran into a situation where I called her an hour early, thinking that was when we were meeting. So it's not just you, Ben. I do it in all professional settings.
Right on. I'm glad you think of me as professional.
Are you familiar with this kind of candy? I'm showing Ben.
Yeah.
Ben, describe what you're seeing on the screen here.
It's sort of like cylindrical, red, and bumpy.
Yes, it's a candy. That's what I'm showing him. All of you who made other guesses from that description, you don't know what you're talking about.
Red and cylindrical, red and bumpy. You should get that looked at.
Exactly, and I do.
That's why they kicked me out of the
What?
supermarket.
Exactly. Yes. So we haven't spoken. The new year did happen.
How
Again,
was your New Year?
it was pretty good. For those unfamiliar with the premise of this podcast, which has sort of morphed over the years, but really remains the same. It's a podcast we're recording for people hundreds of years in the future
Hundreds or thousands. If
who
there are
want to
people
know,
hundreds or thousands of
yes,
years in the future.
who want to know what our life is like here in the 21st century, and also for AI to scrape and put together a simulated world based solely on the conversations I have with Ben
Populated
and
with
its extrapolation of the
avatars
world.
that
Exactly.
look only like us.
Oh, now that I didn't think about. That's kind of disturbing. So every once in a while, we'll talk about news stories that are happening contemporaneously with the podcast. And Ben, this one is pretty good. The writers of 2024 got off with a bang. What news story broke on New Year's Day
What
yep,
what news story
New
broke
Year's
on New
Day,
Year's?
dominating the news cycle. Something that
As we're recording this, it is January 4th, Thursday. New Year's Day was Monday. There's a big. I don't know if this is what you're talking about. Like, it's not the earthquake in Japan that happened on
it
New
is
Year's
the
Day.
earthquake in Japan.
Oh, it is the New.
That
It
is
is
what I'm
the.
talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, start right out of the gate. Earthquake in Japan.
Dozens
7.5.
dozens dead, many more missing. A terrible. Have you seen the
Tsunami.
footage? It was a very shallow. It was like a 7.3. It was a pretty shallow quake. So all the footage coming from like office buildings and stuff. It's really rocking and rolling. I think the only thing why there aren't more people dead, and jeez, this sounds terrible to say, why there weren't more fatalities in Japan is because they know how to earthquake over there.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ben, did you know how much bigger Tokyo is than, say, New York City?
It's very dense. I don't know the exact difference, but I know that Tokyo is a very dense city.
And I'm gonna get this wrong, so all I can say is this: much
wrong.
larger.
Yes.
Look it up yourselves, everybody. Much larger.
Yeah, which also like just puts it into perspective how much in danger we are here in Seattle. As I'm talking to you, I'm speaking.
Mhm.
I am inside a 3-story unreinforced masonry building. That if it doesn't get demolished by developers, will be demolished by Mother Nature at some point. I just hope that
Now-
nobody is here when that happens,
Now, Ben,
especially when the developers do it.
you and I were you and I were, I mean, that was the idea of the viaduct for a while. You were in Seattle, the same as me,
Yeah.
when people wanted to save the viaduct or whatever. And there was a thought that the leadership of the city of Seattle was simply waiting for the earthquake to take care of the problem for them so they didn't have to make a decision.
Yeah, a
That was
very
talked about.
yeah. Yeah, that who knows how true that is? It certainly felt true
Yeah.
just because the Seattle process means things take so long to happen over here.
Hmm. Um, and I will say this, you and I were in Seattle also when there was a pretty large earthquake. I forget what its number is, but
The 2001 Nisqually earthquake, I believe, is what you're talking
yes,
about.
I am indeed. Um,
That was a 5 point something. I don't know. Like, it's a logarithmic scale, so like 5.5, let's pretend, is like 20 times larger than 5.4. Again, I'm getting that wrong, but you get the idea.
and again, speaking of knowing how to earthquake, at the time that the earthquake happened for me anyway, I was in my office in downtown Seattle on 6th and something. Don't remember what. It was an Amazon.com building. Oh, gosh. I didn't even say large internet retailer.
I think whoever has listened to the entirety of our podcast knows that fact about you by now. We have spoken about that on a number of occasions.
So the earthquake was happening, and my boss at the time looked at me and said, "It's an earthquake." I looked back at my boss and said, "What do we do?" And then he said, and he used the name of the person that he was either dating or married to at the time. I forget which, who was a coworker of ours. He just said, this person's name is at the house, and left.
Doesn't
And
really
then
answer
I
your
was like,
question.
I think I stand in a doorway, so I just stood in the doorway. I don't know if it was right or not
It's not
at the
right.
time, and it's not right. Keep it wrong, everybody.
Hey.
Stood in the doorway and then left the building, and we go outside, and we're standing under this glass awning.
Yeah.
And I look up and I say to everyone, "Hey, I don't think we should be here." And a mutual friend of yours and mine, Ben, who I will name after the podcast, hey, this is my friend, GudeLaurance. No, who I will tell you the person's name after the podcast. You might be able to guess. I don't
Is
know.
it the same? Is it the same person you've worked with at Amazon in the other building?
I mean,
I think I know who you're talking about, but we
okay.
can clear that up after the show.
Said, hey, we should go down to, I believe it was Showgirls, whatever the name of the strip club near Pike Place Market is. I don't remember which one.
There was a Showgirls down there. There was also a club called Deja Vu.
Yeah, one of those two. We should go there because they probably ran out too. And I'm like, all right, pal.
That definitely sounds like something this dude would say.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh wait, I think I know the dude you're thinking of, and it's not that dude.
Oh, really?
If we're thinking of the same dude, yeah. So on totally unrelated news, do you remember when you and I worked on a script called Normal with a friend of ours?
Yeah. Is it that guy?
It's not that guy.
Okay, that's the guy I was thinking of.
That's what I thought you were thinking of.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I just saw a movie, and I'm not. Sorry,
I know this other guy. Oh, I also know. I think I know who this is.
Yeah.
The person who is responsible for you being at Annex.
Actually, the person responsible for me being at Annex is Bruce Hall. And I'm serious about that. I walked by the theater and volunteered to Bruce Hall. Later on, I got the job at Amazon and found out that that person also was at
Uh,
Annex.
Bruce is
But
also
yeah,
responsible for me being at Annex because he returned my phone call.
yeah. So yeah, he was
I think I
he.
know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So I think so too. Here's the thing. There's a movie on Amazon right now, which by the way, Amazon, shake my
Yeah,
tiny fist. Uh,
an extra $2.99 a
free.
month if you don't want to watch ads.
And you know what? I don't want to watch ads. So this is the thing. This
Yeah.
is why this is a great business decision on their part, because I was like, well, this is it. I'm just gonna to stop my Prime membership altogether. And then I was like, oh, Prime is still too good of a deal. I guess I can pay $3 extra a month. They picked the right amount for me to go. I'm I'm either going to
It's
never work with this company again, or I guess I'll pay this much a month.
it's shameful how much I decry their name yet use their services.
Yep. That's like I said, they're skating that thin edge
Yeah, but also
for me.
it's super bad timing because like last year every single freaking streaming service raised their prices.
Hmm.
Like it's I've got price increase fatigue.
Well, and you know also what happened just today. I saw a post about Best Buy getting rid of all of their media,
Oh yeah, their physical media.
all their physical media. Pretty soon, everything's going to be digital, and once it all becomes digital, what can happen, Ben? They can
They
take
can
it away
take
from
it
you.
away from you. Yes,
So
I know.
eventually, we might live in in a Max Headroom universe again, where everything is just streaming. And if you want to see something, you have to tune in to a specific stream at a specific time, or else it's gone forever and there's nowhere for you to get it.
Yeah, there's also going to be there's a Black Mirror episode that I think of a lot when I'm watching a streaming service that I don't have an ad blocker. Like I have an ad blocker on my laptop, right? But there are no ad blockers on say my Apple TV or my phone. So if I pull up a
Hmm.
YouTube video, I have to sit through those stupid ads. And there's a Black Mirror episode. I think it's in the first season where they can see you if you're watching the ad. And so it's playing an ad, and if you look away, it'll stop. And
Mm.
then it'll say, you have to continue watching this ad or we won't show you the content you want to watch. And I think that's just a
That
matter of time until that becomes reality.
that is actually, I think this is one of those situations like Brazil, where all the stuff that happened in Brazil happened, but it happened in other countries.
Yeah.
Um, that thing about ads stopping if you look away from them, that exists. That is a technology that already exists. They just
Yeah, I'm
haven't
not
implemented
surprised.
it yet.
I'm not surprised.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is why I don't want to get any cybernetics in my
There's
in
a
my face.
there's a I saw and again, I don't know if this was an actual thing or if somebody made this to like make people mad, but it was a patent for a piece of technology, and I can't remember if it was like Samsung or LG. I think it was some TV manufacturer where um, you had to watch. The only way to skip an ad was to say the name of the product they were selling to the television set. So if you're watching a McDonald's commercial, the only way to skip the commercial is to yell to your TV McDonald's, and then it would go on to the next commercial. And
Which makes sense.
the patent drawing was pretty funny because it showed this little like humanoid character standing up from the couch and like raising its arms. One would assume in frustration.
Yeah. I mean, it so this is something that I think about all the time when it comes to TV, Ben. Um, TV, radio, all that. The more we study physics, the more we determine that observation of the universe is important to its function. And so
The observer effect.
human beings are really good at looking at things.
Noticing. We're good at noticing.
Not only noticing things, but also working out patterns, for example, is the
Recognizing
big one.
patterns. Yeah, we're very good at
Yeah.
that.
And so, what is our purpose? Well, maybe our purpose is to just, solidify that things exist. I like the concept. This is one that I've heard before. I might have even mentioned it on this podcast, probably. Um, the idea that consciousness, right? The awareness that there are things, and being able to observe them and all that kind of thing, um, may not exist in the human mind, but that the human mind focuses it like a pair of eyeglasses focus your vision so that you can see things more clearly. The idea that um, out of body experiences, or whenever you die, you see yourself in that situation, that sort of thing that people say, I was hovering over my body,
Yeah.
etc. Could be hallucinations, obviously, right? Um, a really intense sort of dream that you get when you quote unquote come back online or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like the idea, and I'm a fan of the idea that awareness is universal throughout the universe. Universal throughout the universe. I'm great at speaking. But the idea that awareness is there,
Yeah.
but that human beings focus it. And so our perspective, having something happen from a first person perspective, like I am Paul and I am walking around doing these things, right?
Yeah.
Paul would be walking around doing things even if Paul didn't have consciousness, but consciousness allows the universe to experience Paul's actions through Paul.
We are the conduits by which this consciousness is experiencing the world.
The universe is experiencing
all around
itself
us.
through our consciousness.
One might call it the Force. One might call it
Exactly.
other things.
Well, and then the concept being, of course, that now, Ben, I'm going to get this wrong, and you're going to know that I get this wrong because of the provenance. I am he as you are. What comes next?
He. As
I am
you
he
are
as
she.
you are he.
As we are
You
all
are she.
together.
As we are all together. The concept
Cuckoo,
being, yes, I'm living the Paul Goody life right now. I'm the universe living the Paul Goody life. You're the universe living the Ben Lawrence life, but we are both the universe. And so we're basically two sock puppets talking at each other.
I got that wrong.
Oh, what is
I
it?
am he as so when I started to think about it, I'm like, no, that's not right. I am he as you are me, and we are all together.
See, that works out. So that's the concept, basically. That, I mean, you could say that we're a divine consciousness that's going insane, or having a little game of play pretend with itself, etc., etc., etc. But
So
the concept being, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say the concept that we are in a simulation isn't so much a simulation as it is just some sort of like otherworldly existence we can't comprehend yet.
Right. Or
not some large server farm on some alien planet.
Exactly, but rather a consciousness that contains the entire
organic
universe.
Server farm.
Yes. Or the idea that, maybe rocks have memory also. And that the moon has a consciousness. It just works differently than what we know about. What you know about being the moon? I shout as the police officers throw me in the back.
Let's blow up the moon.
Oh my God. Yeah. That guy. That guy again. Problem City. Because Jay Johnson was Whitey Corngood.
You know what? I'm gonna have to go
Let's
back
do
and
this.
rewatch all of the Mr. Show episodes, just so I can know which ones not to reference in company
No,
anymore.
man, I don't know. I mean,
There was a question. There was a question on Reddit today. What theme song do you think of when you hear the HBO opening logo? And for me, it's Mr. Show because I had those DVDs before I had cable.
Same. Hard same.
I went
And
through a rewatch.
Tompkins.
I went through a rewatch of The Sopranos a couple years ago, and every time I heard that opening HBO like static sound, yeah, I thought of Mr. Show. But you know, The Sopranos theme also a banger.
It is good. I still had the concept, never did it. And hey, you know, maybe at some point in time, AI will make it relatively simple to do. Use Dr. Octagon's gorilla driving a pickup truck as the beginning for The Sopranos. Like, just the same opening, same exact opening, but have it be gorilla driving a pickup truck instead of that other song, which I can't remember. Woke up this morning, got yourself a gun, whatever it is.
I'm failing on remembering song lyrics today, so I'm not even gonna try.
So,
Mama said you'd be the one, or something like that. Mama always said you'd be the one.
friend of the podcast, Stephen McCandless, told me about Pika, Pika, Pika.art. It's a video.
AI generated, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if I signed up for the wait list. I got on it. I don't know if you've played around with it at all.
I haven't.
You are not going to have any problem in the near future.
It's not going to take over my job quite yet.
It makes 3-second video clips. The video clips are disjointed, and you can expand. You know, you can say add another 4 seconds, add another 4 seconds. You can expand it, but it is. You remember the original like Deep Dream stuff where everything was dogs and it was really weird looking and all that kind of stuff. It's the same sort of.
Is this like the Google Dream Generator or something?
Yeah, Deep Dream, I think it was called.
Yeah.
And it just turned everything into a dog, or it made things look weird, right?
Right.
That's what this does. You know, a person is here, and then they turn their face, but they don't really turn their head. Their face just moves on the, you know, that sort of thing. But it's going to get better all the time. The thing that is going to not work for a while, the syncing up of the video and the audio that happens very, very well mechanically. If you try to generate that with AI, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to be nuts, at least for a while.
I don't know. I can't imagine that it would be too difficult for an AI, seeing as how we already have lip matching software. It can probably create something. AI generated bad lip reading, but on purpose. This is what it thinks people are actually saying.
I mean, that's the thing. Not only that, not only what people think it's saying, but other sounds in the environment. Basically, what is that type of audio editing that people do where they make background noises?
Foley?
Stuff? Foley. Yeah. AI Foley artist. Give it a video clip and it figures out what sounds are probably happening.
Yeah.
Reading lips and doing that. Oh, it would be great. Figuring out what the person's face looks like. All that. But right now, those of you who are listening, if you get access to Pika, that would be a really fun exercise if you're a video editor, especially if you deal with sound. Generate a Pika clip and then try to come up with sound that goes along with the clip that's generated. Because the things, especially like abstract, some things that come up then are really weird.
You don't say.
Fleshy circles, leaking fluid. Wait, fleshy circles. No, I didn't do it. I thought maybe I was starting a haiku, but I didn't. It was four syllables, not five.
I had one of those
I had
dreams
to
last
stop.
night that I can still remember, and it was like I woke up and it was a really disturbing dream. It was one of those dreams where I I murdered a home invader, you know,
Yep.
but it wasn't it like there was no gore. It was a very abstract sort of beat down with a fire poker, but
Hmm.
half the dream was talking to the guy on 911 to get an ambulance or a police car out to the, apparently it was like some sort of like boardwalk Airbnb I was renting. Because that's where my anxiety lies. Not in confronting somebody who's entered my house, but in talking to somebody on the phone and trying to relay information.
I I almost hate to mention it, but I had a dream a couple of nights ago where Edward's been waking me up at 3 a.m. to
Is
go
he
outside
hungry?
and use the bathroom,
Yeah.
which is nice. I mean, you
Do you
know,
go outside and use the bathroom with him?
no, no, but I
It's a
do
good
use the bathroom
bonding
inside
experience. Okay.
afterwards. There was a guy that I worked with back when I was in the United States Air Force who taught his dog to pee outside by peeing outside, apparently.
It's,
So he said,
oh, right. Instead of having the dog pee inside. I
"Yeah."
gotcha.
There's a problem with that though, and that eventually you're going to switch back, and if the dog learns, well, I pee wherever Dad pees, then you've, well, I guess if the dog was that smart, it would start peeing in the toilet,
I
which would be fine.
saw I saw a like a clickbait article. There's a subreddit. I don't know if it still exists. Saved you a click, and
Hmm.
one of the clickbaity articles was, "This is why your dog is constantly trying to get into the bathroom when you're going to the bathroom." And basically the point of the article was it likes you
He's
and
a
wants
pervert.
it likes you and wants to spend time with you, which is kind of sweet. But it's
Yeah.
also like the dogs are, especially like suburban or not suburban, but like urban dogs, where you have to take them for walks all the time. They don't have like a free backyard. You're with them when they go to the bathroom, so they think that's just like a pack thing. Everybody's with
Yeah.
everybody when they use the bathroom, and which is also kind of sweet. Cats for sure though try to get into the bathroom because they are perverts
I
and they
learned
want to
something
laugh at you.
about myself just recently. I think I might have mentioned this. I've started drinking caffeine again. Did I
Okay.
mention that?
You might have what's your preferred method of caffeine intake?
Well,
Like
this is the
coffee or
thing: is that
tea or
I was drinking
Red
Diet
Bull?
Ski for a while,
Diet?
but
What?
Diet Ski. Ski is a soda, and a pop, as other people would say.
Never heard of
Um,
it.
it's made in Breeze, Illinois, Breeze, Illinois. Um, Popular around these parts. Diet Ski is one of the few diet cola. I mean, not cola. Diet. It's like a Mountain Dew. It's a citrus caffeinated beverage,
Okay.
uh, and it is one of the few that is sweetened with sucralose rather than NutraSweet. Sucralose, I like it better.
Can you
So
taste the difference in different
I can
sodas?
taste the difference. Yeah. Also, it seems to have not as much of a weird mental effect on me. It's hard to
Okay.
describe. Um, but here's the thing: it's cheaper, and I've started to drink coffee again. Coffee that I make myself at my home. And what I've learned is, I when I first started it, I have a coffee grinder, grind the
Yeah.
beans and all that kind of stuff. I don't need to grind the beans. This is what I've learned. I am perfectly fine with just ground coffee
Oh.
in the bag.
I'm imagining you just pouring
Oh,
whole beans into your coffee machine.
sorry,
Like, Paul, you're doing
sorry.
it wrong.
I don't need to grind the beans. Just eat them. Have you tried it? My teeth are bad. No, but So the basic thing is
Yeah,
that
pre-ground coffee. I get you.
pre-ground coffee is fine for me. It tastes
Yeah.
just fine.
I'm the same way. I have a coffee grinder, and every once in a while, I'll get a bag of organic, like free range coffee that I'll grind. But I have no problem buying the bags of pre-ground coffee, and because I have this little like vacuum lidded thing and I drink it fast enough, the coffee stays relatively fresh.
Hmm. Also, I've been eating sandwiches. This is my new thing. It's not a new thing. I've eaten sandwiches before, but
Welcome to sandwich culture.
it's one of my new. So, as we mentioned, I got diagnosed with OCD recently, and I'm trying to stop some things that are OCD habits. And one of them was I don't like eating non-packaged foods, and my my tendency when eating foods that aren't packaged, well, even with foods that are packaged, is I dissect them. Like I eat, well, with the pizza, I pick the pepperoni off, and then I eat the cheese, and then I eat the bread, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sandwiches, I used to do the same thing. I would eat like the inside of the sandwich, etc., and then eventually eat the bread. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm making sandwiches and eating them like sandwiches, eating everything all at once, which is
As
good.
nature intended you to.
The bread that I've been getting to do this sandwich eating, it's been about a week that I've been doing it, is perhaps problematic now for me.
Is
And
it
this
J.
is another
Johnstone
Ben's going to
bread?
get the news. No, no. But this is another Ben going to get the news. Ben, where might I be getting this bread, and what might be causing a problem?
It's made from blood diamonds in South Africa. I've no idea.
No.
Is bread?
Um,
Is there a problem with wheat
okay.
in this country these days?
No. So the company that I buy this bread from was formerly known as the St. Louis Bread Company.
Is it
But
Nabisco
it got a name change
or Nestle?
and became sort of fancy, a place where people go to buy their soups
Oh,
and
Panera.
perhaps yep, exactly. I was going to say, and perhaps kill themselves by drinking lemonade.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the issue. The reference I had there, dear listener from the future, is that at this company that sells bread and other food type items, they also sell lemonade
It's like
that is
uber
caffeinated.
caffeinated. Yeah, like there a couple instances recently. I think I only know of one, but there might have been another one where some person drank, I think, like 3 of these things and died.
Because they have an unlimited sips club where if you're a member of the unlimited sips club, you can buy as much as you want. Apparently he did. If I understand it correctly, the person may have had some underlying health issues as well.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine this was a perfectly healthy person.
But no, and again, this was a keep it wrong situation. I'm doing this from memory. My understanding is that one of the members of the Panera board or someone within the Panera company made the statement that people don't seem to care. People who work for Panera don't seem to care about the shareholders doing well. And I was like, well, now I feel conflicted every time I buy it because, yeah, no doy.
It's
No one working food service is thinking about, well, I really hope the board of directors
right
gets a raise this year or whatever. Or I guess make money. They don't get raises, I guess.
I'm sure the only thing I was thinking about when I was working retail, I've never worked food service, but retail is adjacent, is not, I hope that my performance and the store's performance increases the value for the shareholders, but when is my next break? And when can I quit my job?
Exactly. In fact, when I was at... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You and I are doing the same sort of thing. I too have been eating more sandwiches this week, and it's nothing other than trying to save money on food.
A
I
sandwich really does feel like, that's all you need to do is eat this sandwich and then
I
your
got an
meal is
apple.
done.
I got a sandwich, and I even have like I don't keep the stuff at home because I know that if I have to charge myself for making lunch in the morning, I won't ever do it. I will just leave the house and forget. So I have all the sandwich stuff here at the theater, and so when I want lunch, I just go into the green room and make myself a sandwich. And it's actually saved me quite a bit of money because my routine for years during lunch was to go down to the QFC and just get random lunch foods, which
Yep,
ended up being almost like $10 a day.
exactly. So, Ben, here's a question for you. What appliance was I asked to take back to my house from a job? I never talk about work. I'm not going to say which job it was, but what appliance was I asked you to take back to my home because I was doing a similar thing to you,
Was it a
or that
sandwich
you were a
maker?
similar thing to a panini sandwich press.
Yeah.
Paul, you can no longer have this in the break room.
Is it just because it would your sandwiches would smell?
Um, that was the main complaint, is that
Did
people would smell my sandwiches, and they were jealous because I did not make sandwiches for everybody.
Paul's eating a sandwich.
Well, and then also it took up room and could be a fire hazard.
There
Those
was
other two things, though.
I worked at a job where there was free microwave popcorn. This is when I worked next to you down in the International District, and you could guarantee that and it was an open plan office kind of thing. You can guarantee that the entire office was going to smell by popcorn by like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Because many people would just eat popcorn for lunch because that's what was the food that was available.
Yep. I would do that. Anything that was available that was free became the backbone of whatever else I was eating.
Yeah, totally.
I worked in an office with a guy who kept burning popcorn. And eventually I talked to him about it. I was like, hey, you burn this popcorn. And he's like, yeah, I don't mind it. Like, that is okay. And Ben, I feel like I must say I lied to you just then. I didn't talk to him about it. Of course I didn't talk to him about it. Um, someone else talked to him about it, and I thought for the brevity of the story's sake, I would just make it me, because
Right.
then I don't have to bring a third person into it. But it was somebody else who talked to him. I happened to be sitting next to the place. If I were a stand-up comic, I would not do that thing where you make up stuff. Oh, I was here the other day. I would just talk about real things that happened to me.
Are you referencing Hassan Minaj?
I wasn't. Who's
Oh.
Hassan Minaj?
So you don't know who Hassan Minaj is?
Mm,
All right, he's
is he a Daily Show correspondent?
he was a Daily Show correspondent. He had his own show on Comedy Central.
Was it called
And
something like the? No, I'm thinking of The Problem with Jon Stewart.
the problem but it was something similar, like a problem area
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. Well, anyway, he, he's a stand-up. He has like a Netflix special, and there was, I think it was a New Yorker article that was basically a hit piece on Hassan Minaj, calling him out on a number of his routines where he made it about himself, right? So there's a lot of it was like other people being racist, right? And so he has these stories because he's Indian American, so he has these stories about other people being racist and his reaction to it, or and building a set right around this whole thing.
Yep.
And this New Yorker writer basically calls him out on embellishing. And so, but in his defense was, I'm elaborating on actual true things that happen to actual people. Sure, they may not have happened to me, but these are things that have actually happened. And Comedy Central, he was actually in the leading the pack to be the next host, the next permanent host of the Daily Show. And Comedy Central balked after this article came out. Comedy Central balked, and they no longer want him hosting the show. He had a response to this article that he put on YouTube. I haven't watched it, but people who have watched it say that he exonerates himself pretty well. But again, that's the whole thing. Like, when you're doing a stand-up routine, how much of it needs to be like from real life? How much can it be embellishment? It's comedy, you heighten the stakes in comedy. How much how much do people care?
There are two things that are funny about that thing that you just said, or at least interesting. Number one, the person that I was originally thinking of when I was talking about people who tell stories where they're, they make up stuff or, embellish so that they, can use it in their act. The person I was thinking about was Trevor Noah, which is funny because I didn't watch The Daily Show when he was on it, but I've seen some of his stand-up specials. Jennifer is a fan. I like him all right as well, but there's just something about the way that he told stories in his stand-up act. This is before he was on The Daily Show, right?
Okay.
Stand-up that he was on, where he always comes out on top. The people he's dealing with are always stupid, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then the second thing is that as soon as you started describing the situation, after I said that I didn't know who he was, I immediately understood exactly what you were talking about. I remember the article. I remember the things coming out. But I kept on pretending like I didn't know so that your story would be better podcast. Because, it's the children's
this therapy
TV show
is doing you well.
Ben, tell me more about this. Well, except that if my therapy were really working, I wouldn't have told you that. I would have just let you go and not mentioned it. I would have just gone, okay, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it for me to tell Ben that I knew who this guy was? And
right.
The story, one of the stories that he told was getting turned away at the door, I believe on prom night, by the mother of the girl he's dating. And the idea is, well, that didn't happen to you. It does make it more personal when he's talking about that as a thing that happened to him. So I get it. And I get why.
It's also like, I'm kind of on his side regarding this, because it's not like he was writing an autobiography. He was doing a stand-up routine.
Well, I mean, and this is the thing, is that, I mean, the real question is, is there a difference between, different people? Like, it's Stephen Wright, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna go, oh, he didn't actually have a pony.
He didn't actually
in his apartment.
pour bleach on his dog named Spot just to see if it'll go away.
Exactly. So I think what it is that because he was dealing with more sensitive topics, people were looking for whoever had the problem with it.
Yeah.
Was looking for more honesty. Now, again, I mentioned that I did have a problem with, some of the stories that Trevor Noah said. It's just too perfect. But I feel like it's because you and I know people, and these. I'm not speaking of anyone in particular now. I'm just saying you and I know people, other people, everybody knows someone who has one of those stories. Where and I think I've mentioned this before, but there are two young white men who were involved with the theater at one point in time, and one of them was telling this story about him dealing with a Christian lady, and how he was smarter than her. This wasn't what he was saying. This is how he was saying it. Dealing with this Christian lady, and he was smarter than her, and she was dumb and religious, and
right.
He did a good thing, like a very clever turn of phrase to her and all that. And the other person, kind of took the wind out of his sails a little bit, is because he said, so I said this and she wasn't having that. And he said, the other guy said, oh, she was upset because you ridiculed her religion, which was nice. But that kind of thing, like
I vaguely remember that, but after the show, I want to refresh my memory
yeah,
of who that was.
exactly. But you remember like stand-up books from like I don't know if you read stand-up books, but there were books on how to make it in stand-up comedy or whatever. And they say like if you're Irish, talk about you and your brothers and how you fight and do
Yeah.
this and all that. You say what if you don't have a brother? The audience doesn't know that exclamation point. But for me, this may be the autism, Ben. It's possible that that's it. Uh, whenever a stand-up like I said, whenever stand-ups like Stephen Wright and crazy, right, and talks about stuff, I'm fine. Like we've not we know that this is a no truth zone. I'm here to enjoy your wordplay, etc.
Yeah.
If we're in a situation where the story is other people are stupid, and here's a crazy thing that happened to me, and I get the sense that you're lying to me, it's no good. I can't enjoy it. I don't like it. And I think the modern equivalent of that, TikToks or things that show up on Reddit, whatever, where
Yeah.
there are pranks, but everyone involved in the prank is already in on the joke, and they're already like no one is being tricked at all. They all got together. They talked about this prank that was going to happen, and they
Even the
all
Target is in on
participated.
this, you think?
Exactly, yes. Okay, you come in and you say this, and then I'm going to say this, and then it's going to be funny. So
Yeah.
there's a guy who walks up to someone and says, "Did you?" But sometimes it's not even a prank; it's just a weird thing. Like, "Did you step on my foot?" Says one guy. The other guy, "Hey man, I didn't step on your foot. I'm going to punch you in the face. Don't do that. My face is important." And a guy walks by and says, "I like his face." And they both laugh at each other and like, "That guy has liked your face. I'm still mad at you though," or whatever. Like these weird things that are supposed to be real, but
Uh,
obviously aren't
yeah.
and aren't funny. I don't get
S-
them.
Staged happens. It happens. I mean, every once in a while, I'll see something on Reddit or YouTube, and ultimately, it's like this is staged. This cannot be
Yeah,
how this happened. This is probably the fifth or sixth take of even this
right.
little
I mean, and some
caught
of the
in the
things
moment occurrence. Yeah.
like they're mic'd up, for example, would be an example. Or and
Yo,
Ben, I
dog.
figured out what it is. I just realized sometimes it's when people film like UFOs or accidents. They're both kind of the same. Like somebody falls off a bicycle, and that's what you're going to record, right?
Yeah.
But the falling off the bicycle is supposed to be surprising, and so
And yet they're perfectly framed for no
it
reason
starts out
whatsoever.
you're filming your brother and you say, "Sing me a song about milk." And the guy's like, "Well, I like milk. It's really," and then somebody crashes their bicycle. And they're like, "Whoa, are you okay, man?" "Yeah, Dave, I'm fine." "Who's Dave? What?" Or
And
whatever.
this is why I hate the internet.
Oh, part 12. The, the,
Thousand.
the other thing that I've seen video of recently, and again, my own fault that the algorithm is feeding me these things. It's a kid who's on a bicycle and all of his friends, and they're trying to get him to jump on a ramp or over a gully or, down some stairs or whatever. Like all of these videos of four different kids going, "Come on, it'll be great." And the kid always has glasses on or is a little overweight or is one of the out people in the group. And all the other kids are like, "It's going to be so awesome if you do this." And the kid always falls and gets hurt. It's a genre of short film, and it keeps getting served up to me. I don't watch them all the way through. Now
Yet
that
you still click on them, and that's the important part.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I gotta laugh every time I'm on, Facebook or Reddit or Instagram or wherever, and I see somebody say, "How come all these ads and things are just girls in bikinis?
Yeah,
Why are they serving up porn on this website?" Well, sir, let me tell you something about algorithmic
exactly.
ad servers.
Exactly. Somebody said something about that there must be some agenda because it kept on serving him up all this gay content. And it's like, okay, look, it's fine. You are the one talking about it. You don't. No one is asking you now. Now, maybe they're playing a long game though. There's like, why are so many things showing me this gay content? Don't know. Wish someone could message me and tell me about why all this content is coming through.
And what I
You
can
remember
do
the
to deal with it.
exactly.
I have an urge to get rid of this feeling that I have about these ads.
These here, let me show you. This is me if I was in one of these ads. They look like this kind of. I'm just showing you an example.
For illustration purposes only.
There was the reporter who typed in tentacle porn to Twitter and posted it, thinking that it was a search engine, and then went on and said, "You guys thought that you caught me in something, but here's what it was. My son and I were doing the search to show my wife because she had never heard of it before." And I'm like, this is not good.
Were you, speaking of weird porn, were you hey everybody who just now
Speaking of
found the
weird porn,
podcast?
this is I'm very interested to see where this is going.
Were you at I think it was after a spin the bottle and like years ago.
With Michael Hayes looking
You know
up
where
pterodactyl porn?
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, I knew exactly what you were talking about the moment that you started mentioning it. Here's the thing, I will say, I walked in while it was happening. If I remember correctly, it was like a paper mache costume or some kind of costume that one person was wearing. And there were people that were huddled around the computer. I saw what was going on. I did not run out of the room or anything, but I was like, okay. And then I left.
I have vague memories of it, and my memory of it isn't so much the porn aspect. I'm sure that was happening in the video, otherwise it wouldn't be called pterodactyl porn. What I remember is that I don't know if these were people wearing pterodactyl masks or pterodactyl puppets, but they were in the foreground, just like, like opening and closing their mouths, like they're just waiting to be fed or something, while, the business was happening in the back.
I just thought of something, Ben, and I have to say it. Yo mama's so fat. When she's in the foreground, it's a 5 ground.
Jeez.
Is that where I think that's the first snap that I've ever actually made on my own.
I think it's it's akin to your head is so big you don't have a 4 head, you have a 5 head.
Oh no, is that one? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, shoot. I thought I was onto something there, Ben. Oh, hey, remind me after the podcast to tell you the other thing that I thought of that I can't release into the world.
Okay. Wow, we got a whole other podcast after the podcast to get through.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you and me talking and feeling bad about ourselves and our life choices. Um, so yeah, the big thing now is, of course, Christmas is over, New Year's is over. I have a thing that I'm doing every New Year's Day, which is I listen to every single cover of U2's New Year's Day that I can find. Some of them are
Everybody's got to
real
have a
bad.
thing. Yeah.
Um, but I've made it a rule now, Ben. I do not count remixes as covers anymore. They're no longer covers. In order for you to cover, you yourself have to play the other. You have to play the song.
Yeah.
You can't sample the original song and make that a cover.
Doesn't count.
Yeah.
I don't have a
The
New
other
Year's
thing is,
tradition. I went shopping. I went grocery shopping this New Year's Day.
yeah,
Welcome to 2024.
yeah,
I put
exactly.
food in my fridge.
The one thing I will also say is that I can't think of U2 without thinking of the Negative Land U2.
These
You
guys are
remember
from
that with
England, and who gives an S?
yeah, uh, it's Casey Kasem.
Casey Kasem. On
Yeah,
America's Top 40, I'm
it's
Casey Kasem.
the letter to you and the number two. I just realized U2 started in the '80s, right? That was when they
I
kind of
believe
were.
so. Yeah.
And the reason that I mentioned is because I found out
I mean, they may have been playing
that
clubs in the 70s.
New Year's Day was the Solidarity movement in Poland, which was contemporaneous with the song when it was released.
Yeah, they're very topical and activist,
When
I
I,
should say.
when I go to Genius, though, the song lyric meaning website used to be known as Rap Genius, and it just changed to Genius because Rap Genius used to be like, these are all the the bars and the rap, and this is the allusions that it's making to these things. Great. And I do have to say that Genius for lyrics is also good, but it crowdsources the information. And so
Yeah.
sometimes people are wrong. And so New Year's Day, all these people are saying that it's about World War II, and it's not, for example. So that's too bad. But what are you going to do?
I have a book.
Hey,
I
awesome.
either had this. I know, right? Who would have thought it? Ben's a reader. Looks like we got
Looks like we
ourselves
got
a reader.
ourselves a reader.
Yeah, Bill Hicks, everybody.
So
I either have this book or I checked it out from the library, but it was an explanation of every single lyric from every single Beatles song up until
Oh, that's
like
nice.
I think it was their entire catalog. I think this book was probably written in like the 80s or something. And it was every single line had a meaning, and like the author like wrote a paragraph based on every single line. And when I was reading, I'm like, come on, they can't have. Certainly, this line is there just to fit the meter, just to make a rhyme. Not everything has a. That's what I'm saying, Paul. Not everything means something.
Right. And the way that I would look at it is this. If it brings joy to you to, analyze, because poetry is the same way, kind of, right? Poetry and lyrics, very similar.
Yeah.
And for a poem, every line means something. And so so they apply that.
This was very specific, though. This was like, this line is in reference to John's 1967 visit to this grocery store where he had a bad time buying celery,
Yeah. And the thing that I would say is, after the song is written, and after the lyricist is no more and can no longer contradict, it belongs to the ages, Ben.
To the people.
And you can make it mean whatever you want to. It doesn't mean that it was the original intent, though. And I think that there is something to that sort of scholarship, finding out what the original intent was rather than what it could be.
I want to say that there was a story I read recently where somebody, like for some English class or something, wrote to an author or a poet and basically wanted to get a straight up answer. Come on, does everything mean something in this poem? Like, do you have a specific meaning? Is this being interpreted in the same way? I don't remember what the answer is. Just because I'm me, I want to say that the author wrote back and said nothing. No, it doesn't have any meaning. But I'm sure I'm not right in that case. But I'll have to go back and look up that the very thing I'm referencing right now.
Like something that would be fine with me, right? Let's say there's a poem. Let's say there's a poem. There's a poem, and the person who wrote the poem has a thing saying she came after me like a giant orange with a giant orange head. She came after me with a giant orange head. And somebody writes, in Halloween 2025, because this is a future thing, Halloween 2025, the author's sister threw a pumpkin at him. Obviously a reference to that. So, yeah. Okay. If there is documentation, because there could be at that time, and there's a link to a YouTube video where this, sister throws a pumpkin at the guy. I could believe that someone could say, this is the origin of this lyric, even if the person who wrote the lyric didn't remember that incident, right? He was like 3 or whatever. You could say she was running after me with a big orange head, and I might believe that that's still, thing. The actual thing. There's a difference between this might be where this came from and this is what the author's intent was. And that's the problem that I deal with. And I think that you're the same way. Hey, speaking of being the same way, we're both at the end of the show. Hey.
Congratulations. We made it through another week.
Some pretty fun times of me just being confused for a second.
All right.
Then
in the meantime,
next week, until that happens, keep it wrong.
Keep it wrong, Paul. I'll talk to you next week.